What I want to do is give you an introduction of who I am, what I've done, and then just kind of talk about what project management is, what it isn't, that kind of thing. So I graduated from Michigan State, go green, in the late 90s. Okay. I'm not going to give you the exact date, the late 90s. That's all you need to know. Didn't quite know what I wanted to do. So I decided, well, I'm just going to work contract work because I was in Michigan, not a lot going on. The car industry was slowing down. So I started doing contract work. Well, I got experience as an engineering data manager, managing the data for an engineering company, engineering design company. I worked in purchasing as a PPAP coordinator, which stands for an approval process that I managed for the purchasing department, working with the manufacturing team at a company called American Axle. So in that job, I got a lot of purchasing experience and also got some manufacturing experience. About that time, I got a call from a recruiter and he said, hey, you've got some really good business process skills. You know a lot of different processes. I want to train you in a software package and you can be a business analyst. Well, the software package was an ERP package called SAP. So then now I'm learning all these different processes. I'm starting to work with teams of people in IT. So I'm now at this point, I've gotten into IT, information technology. Now, mind you, I didn't know anything about IT at the time, but I started learning. And I started learning the processes. I learned what the software configuration process was. Just started learning all of this stuff. So now I have all this information that I have, and I'm also learning how to be more organized, how to manage people a little bit. You know what I'm saying? How to execute tasks, how to plan out my work. So these are tasks in project management, and I know all of you, if you're working, you're doing that. You're planning your tasks, you're organizing your work, you're communicating with people, you're probably managing people a little bit, and all of that can be used in project management. So I've worked at, let me tell you, I've worked at some pretty impressive places. I mentioned American Axle. That's kind of big here in Michigan. Well, it used to be, but it was a part of GM at one point. I've worked for Delphi. I've worked for Northrop Grumman. I've worked for General Dynamics Land Systems, making tanks for the military. And the one that I'm most proud of is I spent about 8 years at Boeing. And that was interesting because I went out there for a 6-month contract. And 8 years later, I was a full-time employee managing, actually with the title project manager, managing projects. And the way that happened, I went through a full implementation on the 787. I actually have some pretty cool pictures. I should have put that in the slide or something. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I was living in Seattle. We had just wrapped up the 787 project. And my manager said, you know, I think you should move into a project management position. There's a position in Huntsville, Alabama that we could transfer you. They transferred my whole house to Huntsville, Alabama, and I became a project manager title for and I learned even more. So once I got to Huntsville, I did decide I was going to study for the PMP, get my certification. First night, so you have to take a class before you can even apply for the PMP certification. So the first night of my class, it was a virtual class. The guy says, well, what I'm going to teach you is not necessarily real world project management, but it's going to help you to pass the PMP test. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I've done a little bit of project management. I have some real world experience. Why would I want to learn something that I can't definitely use real world? So for me, I went through the class because I had spent a ton of money on it to take the class. But then I was like, I don't really know that I need the certification. I'm getting more experience and I'm study growing and learning without the PMP. Now, I'm not saying don't take the PMP, but I think it's more of a strategy to taking the PMP. You don't want to take it too early because you need to know the difference between when you sit down to take the test or to study for the test. You need to know what's real world and what's not real world. Okay, so I'm not saying don't take it, but you might want to rethink it. You might want to wait 3 years, get some experience, and then take the test. I made, I'll say this, I made a lot of mistakes in my career, but I made a lot of good decisions too. I think not getting certified because it cost so much money was probably a good thing. Um, when I got to Huntsville, Alabama, I had a little bit of project management experience, but I didn't have a lot. I kind of wish I had. I feel like I floundered those first 2 years figuring it out. I wish I had went and gotten a mentor, somebody to teach me, to like that I could come to and say, hey, I don't know what the stakeholder is talking about. I don't know how to handle this stakeholder. Or maybe there's a risk in my project that I don't know how to mitigate. I wish I had someone there to talk to me. Even now, like Kelly is mentoring me in a way that I've never actually been mentored, like really holding me accountable to go and do what I said I wanted to do. I made a decision that I don't necessarily want to be an employee of another major company. So I'm doing contract work at this point. I have 2 contracts that I'm working. One, you probably wouldn't know the company, it's an engineering design firm. And then the other one that I'm working on is with Ocean Spray. And I feel like because I did it myself, I feel like I'm more confident, but I could have been even more confident a lot sooner.
Yeah, so you talked about, when you first got started in the companies that you worked for. So those positions, I know we talked about, I know you and I have talked about anyway, starting in business analyst as a BA,
Mm-hmm.
right? You started
Mm-hmm.
as a BA. And then like for somebody that's, I don't know, in healthcare and they want to pivot and they want to transition, somebody that's in manufacturing or does, like me, does recruiting. How did you think about project management, or are you saying you didn't think about it at all? It just kind of fell in your lap? Because I remember, I think you told me that somebody, your manager said you should go into project management, or you just said that, right?
Right, right. And my steps were always a recruiter or a manager saying, "Hey, you're good at XYZ," as opposed to me actually recognizing that I had that skill set, if that makes sense.
So
So
PM wasn't on your radar.
it
It was
was not on my
somebody
radar.
actually saying, hey, you know what? You would be good in this. Because I
Right.
think, and what I'm getting at is, because I know for people watching and those that have watched the replay, because I wouldn't have thought anything about project management at all. you know,
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason why I'm so interested in bringing it into Expert Edge is because it is a path where you can leverage skills that you use every day in the work that you do every day. And you
Mm-hmm.
don't realize that's an option. So, how should someone think about, okay, maybe project management is a way for me in 2025 to make a pivot or make a transition? Is it a skill set, or because when I think about project management, I think about detail oriented. I think about, a group of people and all of that. Is there a way to think about?
Yeah. So project managers are usually, like you said, very detail oriented. They're also very organized. one of the first things that I learned in project management was that, oh, I do this all the time in terms of planning out my task. What are my tasks? When am I going to start? When am I going to finish? How long is it going to take to get to it? Are there any dependencies on, like, what do I have to do in order to do my next task? I was already starting to do a project plan, I guess, in my head, but I had never written it out as a project plan. I think some people probably think of it more like a to-do list, but it's more details than that. But you kind of start out with a to-do list, but then you got to do your dependencies. You got to know who's doing what and when. You got to be able to assess any risk that you had. I saw someone ask about a risk assessment, and yeah, you do a risk assessment. You prioritize your risk and you watch them and you come up with a mitigation plan. That all is like project management ease for saying, what if something goes bad or goes wrong? What am I going to do if it goes wrong? And then so it everything that you're already doing in your job is probably project management related. It's more of a thinking about it a little bit differently than just, oh, this is just my task. I know when I was before I became a business analyst, I was only concerned about my little world of doing my task. I wasn't thinking about outside of that world, like, how are my tasks going to affect people downstream, or who needs to do who needs to provide me the data in order for me to do my job. I was only worried about my job. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think everybody just worried about their job. We don't care about nobody else.
And as a project manager, you start worrying across the board. It's yeah. So
I don't think any of us care about anybody else's job. But I'm just figuring out that I believe all of us, Vicky, me, Dee, David, I think every job has a project management element. If you think about it, y'all think the same thing? I feel that way. And it just dawned on me. And when you were saying that, I'm like, I think every job has that element to it where you're managing a project of some sort or you're on a project with people. So to pivot and transition into project management, I believe a lot of people think, well, I have to be certified, because you do see that everywhere, a PMP certification. And I wanted to bring you in because I know you didn't have one, and you're working with some heavy hitters, Boeing, Ocean Spray. You got a list of companies that you've worked with that have hired you, seeing on your resume, there's no PMP. So I wanted to show people a real person that it is possible.
I'm actually a real person.
She's a real person. It is possible. And I love that. I love that so much. What questions y'all have? I know y'all dropping in the comments. Y'all know we're real informal, but ask your questions while you got somebody here now. Ask your questions. Ask your questions.
I see Derek Ball. I see he has his hand raised. You want to come off mute and ask your question, Derek? That's the project manager in me.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And my question was, how does the project manager contribute to the PLC or the product life cycle? In what aspect do they do it from start to finish, or they pick up on the project and someone else continues and finishes out the life cycle?
Now, when you say PLC, give me tell me what PLC stands for in your world. Did you say product life cycle?
Right, product life cycle.
So it depends. For me, I have worked mainly in IT. So in terms of the PLC, we usually look at software products that will add to their product life cycle. It's going to be some benefits. For instance, I'm kind of in a niche market right now, and it's called product lifecycle management. So we work to to define your product life cycle. So it's the entire product life cycle. So we look to implement new software. For instance, at Ocean Spray, we're about to go live with a new system in about 10 days. And at that point, their research and development team, their process is going to change how they do things. They're going to start using the computer more. And the software package that we have actually will I lost my train of thought. I must be more tired than I realized. The product life cycle, the package is going to allow for a single source of truth, meaning it's not going to be data all over the world in spreadsheets, in documents. It's going to be in one spot for all of research and development, product development. They will go into the system and be able to see the records and the data in one space. So that's a benefit that we would be adding to the PLC. Does that make sense to you, Derek?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
What other questions y'all have? Somebody asked Kim if you have a PMP, and I told them you did not have a PMP.
I do not.
Honestly, I don't think you need it. I think it says a lot that you don't.
Yeah,
I think it says
does.
a lot that you don't. And I think that's, it resonates with people, but that's a personal choice.
Yeah.
That's the coach in me saying, listen, we don't want to go back to school. We don't want to do all that. We don't want to spend no energy doing that. Let's talk about some money. Vicky's like, child, I don't want to do nothing. Let's talk about some money. Let's talk about some money. Like, how much can we make? I know that you're contracting now, but if we're talking about someone, let's say someone, gets with you, they get a roadmap to get them to where, what can they expect to make range? And I know it's different and it varies by industry and what you do, but what would be something that they would expect with no experience?
It definitely depends on the industry. I saw someone say something about government contracting. If you're doing government contracting, it could be crazy amounts of money. So I haven't even explored that, but I do know that there is a lot of money to be made in the government. But on the low end, I would say probably 40 starting, 45, 50. On the high end, 85, and that's per hour. I'm sorry, not per year. So let me clarify.
Morgan was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, that does, I don't know, 35,000 a year. No.
I was like, wait a minute.
And that's the low end. But as high as, government contracting, I know a friend of mine has been doing it, and we don't talk real numbers, but I can kind of guess probably, somewhere between 150 and 100 and 200 an hour, something crazy like that. Or it could be, 120 an hour.
It just depends.
80 an hour. It just varies, and it depends on the industry, really and truly. For me, it's been the niche market that I am in is a little bit higher because it's a smaller pool of people. So sometimes it's harder to find people that have the knowledge of product lifecycle management. So it can be a little bit higher. So,
and that's your niche, product. What is it?
Product lifecycle management.
So you're a PM in product lifecycle management. That's
right.
Okay.
Right. And if you want to look up some of the software packages, you can look up like Windchill. That's one. That's kind of my main, or Team Center. You guys may be familiar with that Team Center if you have any knowledge of it. So.
So I did, I don't know if you guys saw on YouTube, I did a state of the workforce address, and I was talking about, since Trump going to be in office now in the next 11 days, all of the focus areas that he's going to be focusing on. And of course, you've heard about the government and how he's going to dismantle that and Doge and all of that that's happening. There will be, you all, mark my words, and I talked about this, there will be projects available. And I even broke down the different skill levels: elite, highly skilled, and then general. So if you are in a space where you're working right now and you have been doing it for a decade or more, regardless of what it is, don't overthink it and think that you're not qualified. This could be something that you posture yourself for right now, where you can position yourself right now for project management. Just because you don't have the title, your skills can be aligned to the operandi, to the opportunities. Hold on, I'm hearing myself. I think Maya's, there we go. What do you say about that? Kim, what do you think about that? Just opportunity. Hold on. Let's see.
There is definitely going to be lots of opportunity. Even I will say this, even with AI coming on board and everybody's worried about AI taking away the jobs and all of that. I was actually in a conference and we talked a lot about that. AI for a project manager, it might be able to do some of the calculations well, I won't say calculations. It may be able to do some of the more mundane things, but a lot of project management is more like people skills, being able to communicate effectively with your stakeholders, being able to persuade people to do things, because one of the things that is often said about project managers is you're responsible and accountable for everything, but you aren't doing any of the work. So you have to, coerce people who may be doing a project but doing their regular job as well. Like they may be working in accounting, but they're on this accounting project to implement a software package. So you've got to be able to help them to understand that this is going to empower them. So I consider myself to be a pretty good team builder. So that's a great skill to have, but AI is never going to be a team builder.
And Derek said, where would you recommend to receive training or accreditation? A college or certification organization?
So there are a number of places you can get just for those who don't know, when you decide, if you were to decide you wanted to become PMP certified, the first thing they're going to say is you have to have X amount of years experience in order to be able to sit for the exam. So let's say I can't remember the exact number at this point. It might be like 3 years, or they may even say it in hours. You need to have, 4,500 hours in project management experience. So once you decide you're going to do that, you can pick where you want to take the class. You can do it in person, you can do it virtual, you can do it, there's probably some stuff you can just do videos, you know what I mean? It's a pricey situation, anywhere from, I'll say $700 just for the class, to take the class. And then once you take the class, you have to apply to take the test. So that's a whole nother thing. And you might get audited, you might not get audited. It's a whole process. Then once you've taken the test, you still have to study, because it's not an easy test. So you got to study, then you take the test. The test is going to be, if you're a PMI member, it's cheaper, like maybe $400 to sit for the exam. And if you're not, I want to say it's about almost $600 to take it. So you just add all that up. So even like if you do, it's not just taking the class. So I just wanted to kind of lay that out for you. Mm-hmm. So the cost is not just to take the class. You still have to, study and pay for the test.
So there's prerequisites. You have to go through a class, then you have to do some studying, and then you got to pay to do the exam, and you gotta have 3 years
Yeah,
in the
I
exam or
can't
whatever.
remember the exact amount of time, but you do have to have some amount of time. I think they now have something called a CAPM or something, or I think it's like an associate PM, and I think it's less hours than just what the
Mm,
PMP was, but probably
okay.
not that much less.
Okay. And Paula says, that explains all the more reason why you do not need a PMP as you are in a niche market. What do you know now in 2025 that you wish you would have known earlier in your journey? That's a good question.
That's a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do I wish I knew now? Ooh, I can think of a whole, like, I just went deep in my mind into project management. Like, I think one of the first things I would say is I wish I knew back when I was starting that I really, not to be intimidated by my stakeholders, because usually when we say stakeholders, that's anybody that's affected by the project, but it also includes executives. And I wish I had known back then that I needed to build a relationship with those executive stakeholders, because they're the ones that hold the money, and they're the ones that's going to look at the end to see where the benefits are. And there really is no need to be intimidated by them. And I will admit that I was intimidated when I first started and would barely talk to stakeholders, honestly. So that, and I wish I had known how to mitigate risk better, because if you don't, one risk that's not mitigated can tear your whole project down. So
That's good. That's good. That's good. What other questions you all have? While you got somebody here that has experience and you're thinking about transitioning, often the questions that I get in, relation to transferable skills, what type of skills are transferable to project management? And I think to Kim's point, you said earlier, soft skills, because you're collaborating with different people and business units and departments and levels and things like that. So knowing how to communicate, to me, it sounds like that would be one of the top skills, communicating effectively. And of course, just knowing how to think strategically about things.
Yeah, strategic thinking is a must, especially the larger the project gets. Like for instance, with this ocean spray project, we're implementing a PLM software, but that PLM software also has to talk to SAP. And we started our project first, and SAP started later, but it's a bigger project and it's more people. And now they're trying to say, well, we need you to do this, and we're about to go live. It's a little late for that, So now we're talking about how can we, in the next phase, pull some of the things in that they want us to do. So you really do have to be strategic in your thinking and be able to communicate with other teams about what their requirements are. It's not just about what your requirements are, but do our requirements match up? So.
And so you worked as an employee for companies, and then you went contract, and now you're working 2 contracts?
Yes, 2 contracts.
And then you're moving, I know we're moving you into a consulting company, and all of this, you all, is her leveraging her current skills in project management. Just one set of skill. That's the crux of this conversation. Using what you have, complementing it with a skill that's in demand, a need that's in demand, which is project management, and not going out and having to spend a lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of time learning something else. There's going to be a learning curve. I don't care what it is you do. You can go out and I talk to people every day that it blows my mind because they're doing this and then they're doing this and then they're doing this and they're doing this and they're doing this. And I know on the other side that this same time next year, they're still going to be wondering, you know, why do I feel stuck and why do I feel frustrated? When you go
Yeah.
after too many things, you do no thing. It's called nothing. No thing.
Mhm.
David, stop laughing at me. It's the truth. That's why you're laughing. It's the truth. That's why. And you feel like this. You know, wonder how I know. Wonder how I know.
Yeah, wonder how I know.
Yeah,
Before I
this is
started talking to you, I was all over the place. Like, I could do this, or I could, because I do have a lot of skills, and
we
you
all
guys
do
have a lot
though.
of skills. And mhm,
Use what you got, y'all. This isn't difficult. It's not
yeah,
rocket science. This girl is an expert in her space. She's not a speaker or a person on
not at
on
all.
content and everything. When this goes off, she's in her wheelhouse. So she may not be, online and be all like me, all in your face and stuff, but she knows her stuff, just like y'all do. Don't let 2025 get ahead of you and you running around trying to figure it out. You already know it's been validated. Somebody's paying you for it. That's how I know it's validated. This is designed to complement what you do already. Don't overanalyze. Don't overthink. Don't look at the job description. Kelly, they said, I write job descriptions. I know what they say, and I know why they write it like that. Listen, I'm on your side. All I can do is tell you, you can go chase the shiny objects all day long. But when you come to me, I'm going to be in your face. In love. Listen, what other questions you got? We're going to hang it up. I know it's been a long day for everybody. What other questions? Let's see what we got.
I actually have one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more of an IT project manager, security, because that's what I've done for decades. How do you switch that to companies that don't care about cybersecurity project management skills?
What companies do you know that don't care about cybersecurity?
Oh, there's a lot.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
That's like
There's
the
an online
going-
school that just got hacked. Now they're in a panic to get cyber
Yeah.
that they didn't have. Yeah.
That's when you move in on them.
I've worked for Boeing and Northrop, and I'm from Huntsville, so
Oh, you're from Huntsville.
yeah, I was at NASA for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Running the IT, yeah.
We might know each other and don't
We
even
probably
realize
do.
it. That's hilarious.
But I mean, it's hard to transfer the skills from when you're that heavy into IT and cyber. It's hard for them to look at you as a regular project manager because they don't think IT is important until it breaks.
That's a good question. And that's a hard one for me, David, because I too am an IT project manager. And I know, and you know that project management is project management is project management. Because even like cybersecurity, you probably know more about the process, but like with what I'm doing, with Ocean Spray, I don't know what what their research and development process is, but I can manage that team because I know how to say, okay, let's sit down and talk about what you need to do and when it needs to be done. And I can track that, and I can talk about risk, and I can go before executive management and talk to them and say, here's where we are. Here are the risks that we're experiencing. We need your help with this. So, I mean, project management across the board is the exact same thing. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you convince people of that though.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
That's
I met with directors of NASA. I met with senators because of my roles running $30 billion projects for NASA from an IT perspective. And people were like, oh, that's not real project management. I'm like, what do you mean?
But like you said, here's the thing. At the engineering design company that I'm in, I went there to do PLM project management. They keep pulling me into other projects that, oh, we thought we didn't need a project manager, but I guess we do. Can you clean this up for us? No, You made the mess, clean it up. But of course I go do it. So it's more money for me. So
But it's all people skills to me. It's about leading a team. But thank you for your input. I appreciate it.
Sharkilia Jackson, are there specific tools or software you recommend I learn to better support project management roles?
well, there's always the good old MS Project, Microsoft Project. That's the going tool. Not one of my favorites, to be totally honest with you. You could try Trello. That's a good project management tool. Another tool I've used is Clarity. But that is probably more corporate. I don't like Trello. You could go sign up for that today. I don't know how much it would cost to sign up for Clarity. You know what I'm saying? If you're agile, gosh, I'm trying to think of some of the tools there. I've done a little product owner stuff. I can't think of the tool. I'm sorry, I can't think of the tools for agile. But really, I mean, I see the thumbs up on that. Or no, that was something else. So
Yeah, I'm sure there's a ton out there. You can even ask ChatGPT,
yeah.
what are some good project management tools? Think about your skills, the work that you do on a day-to-day, because just like I was saying, me being a recruiter, when they reached out, the title they had for the role was program manager, not project manager. I'm just giving you an example. Don't get caught up in the title. Look at the scope of work. When you're going through, when you look at all the project management roles, look at the body of work. Look at the scope of work. And
That's very true. And you'll see that.
Yeah, you might do that anyway. You might do that anyway. Now, one of the things Kim has done for us, she has opened up her calendar for those of you that want to dive a little deeper. If you want to learn more about how to transfer your skills into project management, how does it translate? She has opened up her calendar just for you all that's on this call. And for those of you that are in the community, I'll drop a link. We can continue to answer questions, but I didn't want to forget. For those of you that want to take a deeper dive, she will map out a career road. Is that right? A career roadmap, Kim, for them. If you're here, like if you're I don't know, a dialysis tech and you want to get to project management, she's going to map it out for you. Now, typically, now she's doing this for us, y'all. Typically, it was just a consultation, but she's going to actually give you 2 consultations and just for 10 people. Just for 10 people. She is working on a go live project. As you know, she's working with 2 major brands right now. So she's just doing that for us. She'll take 10 people. If that's something you're interested in, I'll drop the link below. How much is it if they were to go to get a PMP certification? How much does that cost?
Well, okay, so again, the class is probably, let's call it $1,000 to take the class. And then if they're not, I'm going to make the assumption that they're not a PMI member.
Okay.
So that's going to be close to let's just call it 600. So that's like $1,600.
$1,500
take the test. And then probably you'll end up wanting to purchase like practice exams. So, that could be a couple more $100. Nothing's easy if you and you would want to take the practice exams because you want to know how they word things and that kind of thing.
So. And I heard it was hard.
Yeah, it's hard. I hear it's gotten easier, which is one reason why I'm like, well, maybe I'll take it now. But I haven't assessed it thoroughly at this point. So
Well, so a little under 2,000 for the prerequisite, the study to sit for the exam, and you're going to walk out of there still with no experience. The
and you hope you
opportunity,
pass, because if not, then you got
yeah,
another $600 to take it again. So
and hope you pass. That's true. So the opportunity to meet with someone, because you're not going to reach out, because yeah, I tell y'all to network, and y'all don't do it. Y'all don't listen to me. You're not going to do it. So somebody right here that you can actually have a one-to-one dialogue with, I think is invaluable. So think about that and invest yourself. She's going to do this for $199. That's pennies. If that's something you're interested in, I'm going to drop the link here. Go ahead and sign up because I have given her orders. So you can get mad at me. Only 10 people. Only 10 people. Because I don't want her to get overwhelmed. So I dropped the link below. Get on her calendar to just once it's gone, it's gone. Any other questions? Any other questions? We can still answer questions, but I didn't want to forget that because I know you said you were going to offer that if somebody wanted to talk to you one-on-one. And again, thinking about your pivot and transitioning and, if this is, something you want to do in 2025, you've been thinking about it, but you're just quite not sure. How do I leverage my skills that I currently have and experience? Project management is definitely, I think, is number one on my list. Number one on my list. Just because you can do it in any industry, you can project manage in any industry. I'll be teaching in a couple weeks on, consulting, because I want to have career paths that will complement what you already know, and you can go in and consult. The government is going to have a ton of opportunities as well, contracting. So I want to talk about that. But I think project management is the number one space, the number one space. What other questions you guys have? What are your thoughts? Drop in the comments. How do we think? What did we think? Did we learn anything? Yeah, yeah. Everybody thinking, is that why we're quiet? Wheels turning, wondering what's happening.
I'm scrolling through the chat now and I'm just cracking up it. So somebody told me what the PPAP stands for. Thank you so much. Production Parts Approval Process. That's exactly it.
This was great. I appreciate this, you guys giving us the initial information, because I'm in that situation now where I'm ready to pivot. I've been doing the same type of work for over 25, 30 years, and I'm ready to do something different. And I didn't want to go to college to start over. I'm too old for that. I don't have the brain capacity for all that extra. So I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? And project management was one of those that came up, and I was like, I need to know more. I got to figure this out. So I appreciate you coming on and initially giving us, the backstory of how you got into it, kind of like a path of where you can go with it, and like stepping stones for a process there. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you some more. I'm gonna try to link up with you. So
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Any other feedback, you all? Like I mentioned, it could be, a little nerve-wracking. So I'm proud of Kim for doing this, and she did a great job. I do this all the time, so I'm animated. Y'all probably tired of me, but so
I'm used to my teams. I can talk to them all day.
So she did a good job. She did a good job. It's not easy, y'all. So when somebody, is offering information, y'all, just take it, especially, you guys know me, and I'm not going to put anybody in front of you that isn't solid and legit. So take it, consume the information, get all you can, because it's a lot of bad stuff out there, and a lot of stuff I know we all smart and we just don't know right now. So now is the time. Especially this quarter, this is the hiring surge where you want to make decisions, not stay in a loop to try to figure stuff out. Make a decision. Get on a path. Do like the Kentucky Derby horses, put the blinders on, stay on that path. Don't get off, because there's a lot of distraction. That is the currency right now, attention. They want your attention. Don't look over here or over here. Just stay on the path. This is how you make it. What other questions before we wrap up, y'all?
Real quick, I see, to clarify, Kim does have a PMP. To clarify, Kim does not have a PMP. I do not have a PMP. So
Mhm.
Question. This is Paula. Kim, thank you so much. And Kelly, thanks for arranging this.
you're
So
welcome.
you went out on your own. You finally took that leap and you said, you know what? I can do this. I know enough to be dangerous. I can earn a living at this. How did you learn to negotiate the contracts that you were willing to engage in? Because that's, you know what you know as far as work, but running a business is a different beast. So
Right.
how did you go about that piece in securing contracts such as Ocean Spray, if you can share?
Like the contracts that I'm on right now, they go into 2026, and they started in November of one started in November of 23, and one started in February of 24, and they're both going into 26. So I'm good right now. So I have the time to learn about the negotiating and all of that and be ready in 26 to start negotiating on my own.
That makes perfect sense. You bought yourself some time.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're ready to get on the next rung
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
journey. Good idea. Thank
All
you.
about planning and being strategic.
Navigating, correct. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good question. That's actually a good video, Paula. I'm going to do that. The difference between contracting and consulting. One is subject matter expert. The other one is executing as, not as an employee, but you're executing. The other one is SME. I'll talk about that. That's a good topic. It also brings me to think about you all. Everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur. I want to say this in the right way. Some of us are meant to be intrapreneurs, right? Working inside of the company and owning the space and owning the body, that scope of work. But you want to be the CEO of whatever it is you do. You want to own your skills, your knowledge, your experience, your talent. Just like Paula was saying, how do you negotiate that? Whenever you get an offer, you're negotiating that offer. Kim had to tell that recruiter, listen, I need 85, I need 150 an hour. In order for me to do this is a big brand company. They got billions of dollars. I know my worth, I know my value. They want me to come in and project manage and then call me over here and call me over here. This is what it's going to take. You have to know your value, you all. The levels when it comes to what Kim is doing right now, she was an employee, she's contracting, and now she's working with me to start her own consulting agency. Then there's levels after that. There's B2C, B2B, and B2G. So I'm going to take her through that rung because that's exactly what I've done. In my staffing agency, that's exactly what I've done, right? Working with contractors in government and things like that. I want you to think of yourself like that in 2025, just like Dee Morgan was saying here. She's like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm thinking about it. I'm going to get with Kim. I need to go to the next level. You guys think like that. It's a mindset shift. And you're repurposing your skills. Repurpose your skills. Reposition yourself and repurpose what you're doing. You don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to start from scratch. All right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Y'all know I can keep going. I'm gonna be quiet. Any other questions? We'll wrap up.
I have one last question.
Yes, sir.
I was trained that when you are working on a project, you can multitask anywhere from 7 to 11 at a time, but you can only do it efficiently and effectively up to about 4 or 5 projects. What would you suggest? And of course, would it depend on the size of the project as well?
Definitely depends on the size of the project. Right now, 2 is my limit because Ocean Spray is big. And then when I started the second one, which is the engineering design company, they initially only wanted me like 5 hours a day or something like that, half time. So I was like, oh, project and a half, that works. But then they started seeing, like I said, they have projects that are not very big, but they still need a project manager. So now I'm almost up to 8 hours, 10 hours a day. So I'm like, this is too much. Cause like, even like today, I was up at 6 and I just walked away from the computer because I knew I wanted to be somewhat fresh for you guys. So I just walked away at like 5:30 and said, I'm done for the day. but I'm going to be working over the weekend because, you know, we're going live in, I don't know, 11 days, 10 days, something like that. So I gave up that time today, but I got to make it up somewhere. So I do spend a lot of time working in the evenings and on the weekends. And, you know, I don't know that I want to have this many projects again, or at least I would be more cognizant of the size of the projects before I would commit to them. It's all about the size.
That's good stuff. That's real deal, y'all. That's real deal. She's showing you a day in the life. That's real deal. Listen, I'm not going to keep you all any longer. I know we're all tired. We all had a long day. Thank you again, Ms. Hollis, for showing. Thank you guys for showing up for yourselves. It's important that you guys invest time, and I think it speaks volumes that you spend, you know, this time just learning and for yourself. So kudos to yourselves for doing that. You guys stay safe. There's a lot happening out there. Stay warm. And see you on the inside. Bye, y'all. Good night. Good night. Good night. Bye.